Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our high school football week 14 recap show. Yep, week 14 we've arrived at. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts along with our opening guest as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Capital Region Insurance Agency, Payor Apparel, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Ted's Bar and Grill, the Tire Mart, the American Legion, Post 272, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, Hoffman Ford, Sam Hartley Decking, and Tonino's Pizza. Thank you to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. We really appreciate it. Also, like to thank Penn Live, as we do every week, because we use a lot of their photos, and they are professional photos taken by professional paid photographers. And to be able to use a couple here and there, we really, really appreciate it. Thanks to Penn Live. And I just want to throw this up here too. I think we looked at this a couple weeks ago, but let's take a little bit of a better. This here, guys and gals, who's ever watching. This is our guest to this point. Out of our 12 coast opening guest coaches, 6 different district champions and 2 runners up. What a crew of coaches we had. And that's not by design. I mean, I didn't go out and say, let's get a bunch of district championship coaches here. We just had some great coaches. And even the ones that weren't included in those 8, the champions and the runners up. I mean, Central Dauphin, Glenn McNamee, they had a nice push at the end. They won a postseason game against their rival, Cumberland Valley. Dave Heckert, from Mechanicsburg, Keystone Division champion, only lost 2 games all year. Matt Ortega, of course, at Coatesville, one of the best in the state. And then Bob Wolfram from Wyomissing, who lost a heartbreaker to Joe Heaton in Susquehanna Township. And then, of course, in the upper left, we have Coach Mike Warfield, and he was a district champion, but we got him on here early on. I think he was our first one, and I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen there with that team. And maybe he did, but we weren't sure because he had taken a year off and he had some transfers out. And then of course Jamie Thomas to his right just turned the whole Redland program around this year. So man, what a great group, and we appreciate all of them and the guy that we're having on tonight. So let's get that out of here. Travis Waters is with us tonight. Dave Berman. I don't know if Eric Thomas is coming in or not, but I think Terry Clark Jr. is going to join us in just a little bit. So let's bring in tonight's opening coach guest, and he is Coach Rick Preet from Roman Catholic. Coach,
gentlemen.
I know I thanked you a bunch of times, man, but we're excited. This is a big deal for us. We all know the local coaches up here. This is great football, and these are some awesome coaches. You just saw some of them up there on the screen. But, to be able to bring a guy like you in, especially at this juncture of the season, where you're at the doorstep again, and I'm not trying to get any further along than you are, but we're just excited. So thank you for joining us. And you are the 7th year head coach at Roman. That fly by, does it feel like 7 years already?
Yeah, well, first, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. The 7 years, it went really fast. Time doesn't move slow when you're just trying to stack days and get better. So
right,
it's been flying.
So 2019, you took over. I'm just going to go through your first 3 years of records: 5-7, 1-4, and 3-7. Okay, and that's what happens. You take over a program that let's just say has struggled. You didn't inherit Alabama and Nick Saban's Alabama. You know what I mean? But then you turned it around, and after that, 9-3, 9-3, 11-5, and this year you're 10-3. What kind of happened? What did it feel like? Kind of transitioned from those 3 years to today.
I mean, honestly, just going back to the first year, the first group of kids were the kids that kind of got it started. Mm-hmm. Their belief in what we were doing was paramount into what we were trying to build. So that kind of laid the foundation. And then obviously we all got sidetracked with the COVID pandemic.
Right.
And that kind of got in the way of things. And even the following year, the 3 and 7 year, I felt like there was a good foundation, for us to build. Unfortunately, that first group who got it going, they were all seniors, so we had to kind of reset and start over. But I think it's just been consistency, after those first 3 years, the consistency just stayed in place to kind of get to where we're at.
I love that answer, and I'll tell you a similar one is Coach Joe Heaton from Susquehanna Township. He kind of shouts out his 0-10 team and the guys that didn't quit, that stuck around, that helped build a culture and handed it off. And that was only what, Travis, 3-4 years ago. That wasn't long ago, but he credits those guys for kind of passing the flame or the torch and getting this team to where they are today. So, Dave, you want to jump in?
Coach, thanks a lot, man. So I was there your first, covered one of your games when you played Chester up at Cheltenham and Conshohocken. You guys used to have a home field there, Roman. And you want to talk about that? You still have that facility?
No, we're playing at Widener for our home games these days. But
right my backyard.
Yeah, we had a great time playing at Conshohocken at the A field, and I remember meeting you, after that game when Coach Bell was the coach at Chester. And I do want to give a shout out to Coach Shaw and Chester for a great season and more importantly, what they're doing with their community. It's really impressive.
I forgot to add Coach Shaw to the photos of the coaches. He came in last week as kind of like a last second guest coach. So we got to get him on that grid. Travis?
Hey, Coach, again, great season. I know you're still going. When I think of Roman Catholic, I always think of Roman Catholic in basketball. Think of Dallas Comegys, the late Eddie Griffin. So you're doing a wonderful job there at Roman Catholic. What I wanted you to speak to a little bit about is this being in the Philadelphia Catholic League, which is very challenging. You have to face St. Joe's Prep, you have to face LaSalle, and then you play a very challenging out-of-conference schedule. What's it like getting your kids up to play those? You're playing national powers. What's it like getting your kids up week after week?
You better be ready to go week after week. There's so many quality programs in Philadelphia and especially in the PCL, but we had to work on the mindset of our young man in the program as far as what to expect, and we're starting to get to the point where we go into a season and we expect to win ball games. And that's no slight to our opponent, but you have to have that level of confidence because, like I said, it's such a high level of football. We play the non-league schedule to get us ready for our league schedule. And then, always potentially and hopefully for this opportunity in the postseason. So our kids are battle tested and, any kind of adversity that we may face, we have already seen it. So there's not a shock to the system come postseason.
Yeah, I just so the people at home know how difficult, how challenging that schedule. Providence Day you open with. They're out of Charlotte, North Carolina, currently number 2 in the state of North Carolina, a 1-point loss. Not a bad loss at all to get you guys ready for a tough regular schedule. Then Cardinal Newman in West Palm Beach, another tough out-of-state team. Springside Chestnut Hill is a Interact team. Then DeMatha, O'Hara, LaSalle, St. Joe's Prep, and Bonner. That's ridiculous. Can you tell, this is kind of one of the questions I ask all the coaches, because I think it kind of tells a little bit of a story about what's going on right now. You've had 7 teams now, Coach. What's kind of like the DNA or the calling card of this group of guys, this group of young men themselves, maybe versus some of the ones in the past?
I think they're kind of in lockstep with teams of the past, specifically last year as far as determination. I feel like this group that we have now, they know what their goals are and they're working for it. So kind of program wide or in our organization, work is kind of what we champion around here. And, that has been the staple of this team. Like, they show up every day and work. Like, people see the end results, but and it may be a cliche. I know everybody works, but our kids have just put in a tremendous amount of work over the last 7 years. It's not been overnight. And this group of seniors is a group that, for the first time, we've had a group that's been here for 4 years that has been a winning group, right? So they have the right mindset, and I think DNA. So like our thing right now is to have a 1-0 mindset, right? And be focused on the goal, what's in front of us. And, there's a tall task that we have in front of us on Saturday. So these kids are super focused and poised, but I just think it's a accumulation of a lot of work.
Okay, Dave.
All right. You beat my buddy Homer Delatre. You have a little thing going there, back-to-back years. What a great program Hollidaysburg is. I used to announce a bunch of their games back in the day when they played on the county team. So Hollidaysburg 26-2 over the last 2 years. Both losses to you, Rick, in the state quarterfinals. Shout out to Hollidaysburg.
Coach Delatre is a phenomenal man. His program is tremendous. They do some really good things. I have all the respect in the world for them. We came out on the right side of things the last 2 years for us, but that's definitely a man that deserves to win.
All right, how did you combat what they have the last 2 years, especially this year with his son at quarterback, athlete state?
I think some of the things that they do are some of the things that we do well. Just a lot of preparation, and then kind of seeing how some of the things that they do, how it plays to our strengths. I think that's what was able to kind of get us through. They're a spread set team, and that running back was really tough. He had a great game, and I think this past game we were able to do some things on special teams, which kind of got the game away pretty quick, but they're a tough program.
Next up, you got Springfield Delco, District 1 champs, beat Chester 34-12 the other night in the District 1 title game. Chris Britton, Steve Lennox, legend, one of his right-hand guy is, coached at Interborough forever. They slow it down, but they prove with Johnny Hopkins, a quarterback sophomore, did well against Chester passing the ball. So, and the game is going to be on a field that Springfield Delco is used to, Marple Newtown High School. So your thoughts going into that game, what did you see about Springfield all year, and then especially against the speedy Clippers?
Tremendous program Springfield is. They're going to present a great challenge with some of the things that they do. They're very disciplined, tough kids, Delco kids. Just for us, it's focusing on our run fits are going to be key. They may seem like they don't do much because of their simplicity, but I think in their simplicity is kind of where they execute at a high level, and they have a lot of window dressing and everything that they can throw at you. So our secondary has to be disciplined with their eyes. As far as them defensively, they're very sound. They're where they're supposed to be. Just a really, really great team, and coach is doing a tremendous job. And we know on Saturday they're going to have their community support and everything. So we definitely have our hands full, but we're just going to focus on our game.
Yeah, nobody gets to this point by accident, Coach. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, are you still there? I don't see you on the screen.
Here.
That's okay.
I'm on my phone, unfortunately. So
You might have to go out and come back in. I think we've done that before with you, right?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me though?
Not too well.
Okay. Let me. What about now? Can you hear me now?
Better now, yeah. I'd rather you stay in. I don't care if we don't have your image on the screen. You want to ask Coach a question?
Yeah, Coach, I want to take you back to last year, state championship game. We actually, Joe and I were actually on the sideline of that game. And actually, my toes and fingers are still falling out. It was so cold out there. But
Yeah.
that was a great game, and I know I said to someone, I said to some guy, we have a group chat, and I said, it was kind of anticlimactic. It was a great game, but because your quarterback got hurt, it didn't end how it was supposed to end with your best player, healthy. So thinking of that, what is the mindset of this year? Do you reflect back with the kids to that game at all, or is it just no? We're looking forward. We're this is a new year. We're not thinking about that game. This isn't a revenge tour. What is your thought process? And how do you process with your kids about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think we reflect back on that as a missed opportunity. I can't say that that's not the way it was supposed to happen, because in football, things like that happen. So I always tip my cap to McDevitt for the plays that they made and coming out on top of that game. And we don't look back at that game and reflect as, looking ahead. It's just the lost opportunity, and to remember that and let that be the fuel for you to kind of push through, and just stay hungry and understand that, if you get the opportunity to play in that game again, let's be better.
Yeah, because that's what I think. I think that there's no telling how that game turns out if he doesn't get hurt. And I really wish it would have ended with the best players on the field. But you're right. You're absolutely right. You don't always get back, and sometimes you're always reliving that. There's things I relived in sports because mistakes I made, or things I wish I could have done different. I think of Dan Marino going to the Super Bowl his rookie year and never getting back. But you guys have the opportunity to get back with many of those same players.
Yeah, that's very true. I just don't want to make the excuse of him not being available in the last situation, because he was cramping up pretty bad, and maybe the reason he was cramping up was because of stuff that he was having to do because of what McDevitt was doing. We just have to be prepared for this Saturday at 1:00, and just constantly focus, Travis, on getting better. I mean, that's really been our thing, is like what's in front of us, and people talk to us about the things that we do well, and if you come into our building and spend some time with us, all you're going to see is our emphasis on where we need to improve.
Coach, let's kind of finish off with this, because I know this is probably something that's near and dear to your heart, and that is the Athletic Prep Academy. And I'll explain just briefly, and I'll let you kind of explain the whole thing. Provides free athletic, academic, and life skills programming for urban youth. How is the Athletic Prep Academy doing? And what is your role in it, and how did it get started?
So many years ago, we wanted to, me and a few buddies wanted to do something for the kids in Norristown to have the opportunity to work out and train. And then that became an opportunity to mentor, and we would do some things like mock job interviews and teach kids how to tie their ties, et cetera.
That's great.
Yeah, we eventually kind of branched out, and we did some workouts. So I was telling Dave after we played Chester years ago that, I have a soft spot in my heart for the city of Chester, because we took those workouts there and worked with a lot of those kids, like the Langley twins back in the day and stuff like that. But, that kind of eventually branched off into, we did 7-on-7 and we did other things. And then once I got into this role at Roman, I had to kind of fall back from that, because there was such a, this kids from all over, working with me. And I just didn't want, that going into this position. So it's on the back burner, but it's something that, eventually, hopefully we can bring back one day.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, I know how important that is. I came from a broken home without a father, and my mother was fabulous, but there were so many, man to son things that I wasn't able to learn from her. And when you said, look, teach a young man how to tie a tie, that's necessary,
Sure.
and that's the kind of stuff that gets overlooked quite a bit. So, last thing I want to say is, U.S. Army vet coach, 12 years, you were infantry, served in Iraq. I mean, is that kind of bad news sometimes for your guys? How does that carry over into your coaching job?
It's funny because obviously the military will help instill a lot of discipline and things, as far as how you go about your business and standards and the way you want to do things. But with our kids, when I went in, I wasn't much older than a lot of them. So I'm lucky to be able to see them or see myself in them before I went in, but then also kind of bring some of the lessons that I learned while being in the infantry and serving, that can help them as well. So we just try to stay structured and disciplined as much as possible, but also give them room to be free and have fun while they play the game.
Yeah, you come across as a player's coach to me, and I know that everybody doesn't have to be kind of a player's coach or the opposite. I'm sure you have a little bit of both in you, but I'd want my son to play for you. That's for sure.
I appreciate that. I mean, at Roman Catholic, starting, from the tone that the school sets, it's a brotherhood. We want to establish a family feeling inside of our program. And if we're going to spend so much time with them because we require so much from them, then the love and everything has to be genuine. So that's kind of what we're built off of.
Okay. Last one's going to be Kirby Lentz. He's a viewer and he submitted this on the comment screen. Coach, does your team go out and do any community service at all?
Yes, we do. So this year we'll be doing something over the holidays. We're still. I don't want to speak on it and it not come to fruition.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
But hopefully we'll get an opportunity to do something for Thanksgiving or something over the Christmas break with Children's Hospital. But giving back to the community is something big for us. Street cleanups and planting trees, whatever's needed. We definitely want to show the kids that they need to give back for sure.
Fabulous. Okay, Roman Catholic coach Rick Preet, 7th year coach Rick Preet. We thank you again for joining us. We wish you well against Springfield. That's Saturday at 1. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we wish you well moving forward. A healthy and happy holidays. Coach, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a great Sunday evening.
See you.
Take care. All right, Dave, how about that, buddy?
Yeah, he's got one hell of a Maj Beals.
I had all his stats written down here and stuff, but it's team time, okay? That's the only reason I didn't want to talk about just one player, because it's week 14, man. It's team time for Roman Catholic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Springfield Delco. I mean, we call them Springfield. There's 2 Springfields here in the Philly area. Springfield, Montgomery, up near Cheltenham, and Springfield Delco down here. But yeah, the great sports program. Lacrosse state champs last year, boys and girls, and so it is a great team in their league. Won the state championship, AA. So yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting game.
Let's jump into our outside the lines. Okay, I have a very brief one this week. There wasn't really a whole lot to discuss outside the lines, but this is kind of a follow-up. The Whitfield District 7 board unanimously rejects Farrell's request to rejoin the district. They were a member. Farrell was a member. They're a District 10 member right now, which is Greater Erie. Member from 1944 to 2005. Okay, so that was a long, long time. And then they left and they tried unsuccessfully to return in 2015. They were rejected that time. And this was the second time in 2 years, guys, that they were denied by the Whitfield. What I found interesting is, and you could argue, either way here, but it does increase the travel for all the student athletes, not just Farrell, but all the teams that they have to play, and it increases. It's costly, not just on the budgets, but on the classroom time for the kids. What I found interesting was that when Farrell left in 2005, the reason they gave was the increased travel and increased budgetary constraints. Okay. So for the exact same reason as they said they left, they were not allowed back in. And, that's just, it's interesting that, and I know because Dave, we have, and Travis, you know this, our Mid-Penn Commonwealth members, they have to travel a lot. Okay. They have to go to Altoona once a year, State College once a year, even Chambersburg's an hour and 10, an hour and 15 minutes. So, when you have to spend like half of your schedule, or at least half of your away schedule traveling like that, and the increased amount of food you got to eat on the way out, you got to eat on the way back, you have to study on the way back. It can kind of wear on your players.
Yeah, it can be tough. But I'll say this, and I don't know if they said that travel was an issue when they left the league, and now they're saying it's an issue when they're coming back. And I'm not going to say that anyone said anything that wasn't true, but sometimes people will use certain reasons that aren't necessarily true to get out of a situation.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
now and now are you putting yourself in a position where, okay, you that argument's not going to work coming back in. And I don't know, I can't speak to it, but you got to be careful about that.
Yeah. The Whippeal executive, Scott Seltzer, noted that when Farrell left the Whippeal in 2006, its school administrators complained then, at that time, about travel to Whippeal schools. A number of the Whippeal board members on Tuesday shared similar concerns. So basically, the reason that they said that they were leaving is the reason why the Whippeal is not inviting them back in, is what I'm saying. So anyway, what do you guys think about using what's it called, Acrisure Stadium? Do you guys like that, where the stadium kind of looks empty, but the players get a chance to play on an NFL field?
I hate it from an aesthetic standpoint. I like high school football games and high school stadiums. I like the feel of a high school stadium. Now, if there's 60,000 people there, then fine. But there's not 60,000 people in there.
Right.
And the kids might like it. If the kids like it, I'm all for
I
it.
think they do.
But I would rather, to me, I could feel the Pine Richland venue much better. You can hear, the people in your community cheering for you versus, playing in an NFL stadium that's 75% empty.
Yeah. We used to have the same situation down here with Hershey Park Stadium. And I mean, that's a lot smaller than Acrisure. Is it Acrisure? But a lot smaller. But it still would just look so empty, And but I have a friend that is a good friend of mine who's a girls basketball coach, and he's played a lot down at Giants Center, and he said the girls love it. And let's face it, that place seats 10,500, and sometimes you're only going to get 1,500 in there, even for a district championship. It looks empty, but he said it doesn't matter to them. They love the environment and they love playing on, So, Dave, what are the good high school venues down your way? Up here, we're kind of sold. We're kind of settled into Cumberland Valley for the state championships, and they do a great job. What are the sites down there that you like?
Of course, Coatesville, beautiful stadium.
Absolutely.
They've hosted a bunch of PIAA state semifinals over the years. Not this year though, but yeah, I mean, some of the teams play at Widener. This week, of course, you saw Roman and Springfield at Marple Newtown High School, which is maybe 5 minutes from where Springfield is. But I guess it was this year was a District 1 team to host. So, but and then that's what I think Coatesville's the best, in my opinion.
All right. So let's shout out Gary Smoke Jones. Good evening, everyone. He says, "Go Cougars 1K." So we appreciate you tuning in. So let's jump in and thank acknowledge the district champions from District 3, Harrisburg in 6A, McDevitt in 5A, Twin Valley in 4A, Trinity in 3A, Steel High in 2A, and York Catholic in 1A. Only two of these were decided over this past weekend. The rest of them, York Catholic lost last week, but the rest of them were playing into the opening round of the state games. So let's talk about Harrisburg first. Here's good timing. Terry?
Hey,
What's up? We're just getting ready to jump into Harrisburg's big win over Central York.
okay.
So
That's fine. I was
yeah,
hoping would catch Coach quick, but it's all good.
we let him go just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
He was a great guest though, and what a blessing to have him. So Harrisburg win again, 38-10, a blowout win. Never in question. And I know I can get ahead of myself sometime. And I did with the Pine Richland game, Peters Township game. I told you guys early it was over. But could you guys kind of tell that game, Harrisburg game, was over like maybe by the end of the first quarter into the early second quarter? Like there were things that Central York wasn't going to be able to overcome. Let me put it to you that way.
That's what I was thinking. And I thought this. There are times in a game where something happens where it's like clear one team is going to win the game.
Travis, your audio is
Your audio
really
messed
bad.
up.
I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't mind muddling through it a little bit either.
Let's reboot, reset.
All right, Terry, let me ask you the same question. How
Yeah.
long did it take for you to realize that Central York's not going to have an answer for this on either side of the ball?
I would say probably
Early.
early start of second quarter.
Yeah, that's about what I did.
To me, it was a matter of I knew coming into that game, it was a matter of if Central York will be able to keep up with Harrisburg for the longevity of the game, meaning all 4 quarters. I watched Central York play Hoban out of Ohio, and they were able to keep up with them until late third quarter. And I was thinking maybe they could do the same with Harrisburg, but no. Like Harrisburg made that pretty clear, like early second quarter, that like, yeah, we're here. We're trying to get our 5th straight district title. It's time to get it up a notch. And in typical in Harrisburg fashion, when the brights are lighter, they play their best ball.
And I think they played their best game at the best time. I think it was the best. Now they played well against Imhotep, and that was so long ago. That was August.
Bright lights open the game. See what I mean? It's
right.
Typical Harrisburg. They got up for the McDevitt game, and then after that, they just kind of like coast through the season. I
mean, Cal would not want to hear me say this, and I know that he wouldn't approach it this way. He probably never has, but I don't think he had to get up for a lot of those games. I don't think you set out. I don't think your plan like for practice that week is to kind of half-ass it and like, But when you're playing,
preparation doesn't change, but at the same time, like when you have a superior team, sometimes it's hard to continuously week in and week out get these guys be like, look,
right,
like this is what we got to do, blah blah blah. So
right.
I think off the air we talked about this. Travis actually brought it up. He was like, I think with Harrisburg this year, they knew they brought back a strong team. Their goal was to get to the state championship game and win it potentially. So throughout the season, the regular season, they were going to use it to kind of like build depth, get the younger guys ready, try some experimental things, see what works here, see what works there, and kind of go from there.
Right. Travis, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better. That's way better. Hey,
can you
Travis?
hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know.
What I want to ask you is, how great is it for the Harrisburg community? I'm not talking about just the players, the coaches, the parents. I'm talking about the city of Harrisburg, Cougar supporters, the whole community. Really gives them something to rally around. And there's not something exciting for a lot of these people all throughout the year. Am I correct?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I just know there's a tremendous amount of pride in the team, in these kids. You have a good group of kids. And a lot of the folks know these kids. A lot of folks are related to these kids, and there's a tremendous amount of pride
right
in them. So Go ahead.
I see, like, on Facebook, I see a lot of the adults, and I'm talking about people my age, people, Terry, you're a little younger than me, people in their 30s, 50s, 60s, and they're just beside themselves every year. And I don't see that. When this is with respect to the Cumberland Valleys and the Central Dolphins, and they have a lot of successful sports programs, and they win state championships and lots of district champions. And they're excited. They're excited for a night or two, and then it just goes away. And the random people from the community just don't embrace it like I see the Harrisburg people do. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm excited. I'm excited for Harrisburg and for the residents and the people that are, mighty Cougar supporters. Dave Berman, talk a little bit about Harrisburg winning their 5th straight. And I think it's their 6th of 7, maybe 6th of 8. They've won 6 now, not in a row, but 5 in a row. And you've been down there announcing some of these games over the years.
Oh, I did the LaSalle game last year. That didn't go, but limited over the years, especially since Chester is making the playoffs a lot more in Harrisburg. Chester home games, same time. I don't know. I just think it's unbelievable what they've accomplished, and really looking forward to. I think this is their year. I just have the way they have the swagger. All the interviews after the game, Kevin Brown, Koch, Mickens, the coach. I just have this. It's going to be very, very, very tough for anybody to beat these guys when they're focused. Even Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Pittsburgh Central Catholic thinks, probably, So there you go. That's my opinion. Cougar all the way, finally.
I probably am not qualified to make this comment, but I'm going to make it anyway. I think Harrisburg might be the most talented team left in 6A.
So if I can
go ahead, Travis.
If I could say something, 'cause I wanted to say this before. Watching that game, like I was saying, there's times in games where the tide turns and it's like, okay, the tide has turned. Now a team can always gain back momentum, but I mentioned this in the Manheim Township game. Harrisburg scores, they come down and kick the ball off, and they just light the kid up from Manheim Township, and it seemed like it took the air out of the sails.
Right.
And it was like, okay, this game is over. Similar. Harrisburg's second drive, they're up 7-3. I think it's 3rd down, 2nd down, and 2. Mickens has a 4-yard run for a first time. The safety from Central comes down, makes a tackle, 4-yard gain, 1st down, and the kid's celebrating like he scored a touchdown. I'm like, if they're celebrating a 4-yard gain and a 1st down, they're going to have a long day.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I'll say that Harrisburg is better at every level. And I even say it from the quarterback position. And I wanted to point this out that Harrisburg still has to clean up the penalties, but there's the thing that's outrageous. They're still overcoming the penalties. They're 1st and 20, and they're still getting 1st down, scoring touchdowns. 1st and 20, 1st and 20, 2nd and 20, 2nd and 25. So you at some point that's going to catch up to you. So they're going to have to eliminate them. We talked about them adjusting to how the referees are calling the game. You got to kill the pre-snap, the pre-snap penalties. You really can't have those. But I also want to say that you have to realize. So one thing, Harrisburg's defense is playing really well. And I remember, I think it was like week 4 or something. I mentioned that they're playing like a read and react defense. They need to be more aggressive, and they got more aggressive. And for most of the game, Harrisburg has 10 underclassmen on their defense playing. The only senior out there is Noah Yule, because Mickens and Kevin Brown do not play full time. There are 10 underclassmen. Their secondary has really grown this year. Their secondary has been tremendous the last couple of days. Their linebackers have been tremendous. The only one they lose is Noah Yule. And remember this name, Isaac John Lewis. That young man is putting heat on quarterbacks every game. Number 11, Isaac John Lewis. And I've been saying this all year. Jayon Lewis is the most versatile player in the state of Pennsylvania. And coaches, college coaches need to be ringing this kid's phone.
Yeah. All great points. Okay, so let's move on to, we wish Cal and his staff and his players well this Friday night at Altoona, a rematch against Pittsburgh Central Catholic. McDevitt got it done for their 4th straight. And then probably 5 years ago when they didn't win it, I think it was Lampeter Strasburg won 1 or maybe 2 in a row. But they just pile up district championships. Jeff Wechter and his guys. Very kind of uneventful. Solanco hung around for a while, but we kind of sat there knowing that was going to end. And they're another team that they're just kind of taking care of business and trying to get to where they finally are at, which is the state semifinals. So I mean, I don't even know what to say about. I don't want to not give McDevitt time here, but it was just Bishop McDevitt being Bishop McDevitt when it was said and done. They piled up a lot of yards, and they ended up, I think it was 38-20. I don't have it written down here, but they won big as well. And if they're healthy going into next week against Peters Township, McDevitt's going to be a son of a gun to try to contain, right? Terry?
I would agree, and I think things got really interesting. Peters beating Pine Richland. I think, we were kind of thinking Pine Richland and McDevitt. Quite honestly, I favor McDevitt to get back to the state championship. But I think it's going to be a rematch between them and Romans.
I thought that McDevitt would beat either Pine Richland or Peters Township. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah. So as you pointed out, McDevitt started off a little slow versus Solanco. Main reason for that was similar to what we were talking about with the Harrisburg, the penalties, like McDevitt pre-snap penalties, just penalties in general. They have to overcome them, but eventually they always do because they're extremely talented.
Right.
But if it's like a thing to pick on them about, that would be it. Like against a talented team, for example, going into their next game versus Peters Township, doing that against them, that's probably not the best of ideas because
Peters Township is way better than Solanco.
Yes, then you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're battling versus a better team. You might be down, instead of only being down 10 points, you might be down 14 or 21 points, and then you have it's an uphill battle from there. I'm not saying that McDevitt can't do it, but you never want to put yourself in those situations. But with all being said, I agree with Travis. We were thinking it would be Pine Richland for them. They get Peters Township. I was kind of up in the air with the Pine Richland game, but Peters Township, I would favor McDevitt right now. But like I said, if they don't get a hold of the penalties and the pre-snap penalties, they're going to find themselves in a situation where the game could go Peters Township way.
Pine Richland can stay in 5A now, by the way. Had they won Friday night or Saturday night, I'm sorry, and then won next week, they would have moved up to 6A. So they're securely back or staying in 5A. Peters Township, this is only their second state championship tournament appearance. Two years ago, 2023, they ended up losing to Imhotep, a very, very good Imhotep team. But other than that, they have not been here. So hats off to Peters Township for taking out Pine Richland. Dave, let me bring you in, bud. Chester Springfield Delco. Chester's done. Okay, they lost to Springfield, but it was a great season. I don't want to take anything away from Chester, and I mean that. 52 wins over the last 5 years for Coach Rick Shaw and his Clippers. Man, talk a little bit about this Chester team.
Well, Dante Bell really got it going after a few, big down years. 2016, 17, 18. 2019 turned it around. Dennis took over 3 years ago. 5 straight trips to the District 1 tournament, 2 District 1 runner-ups. Hopefully they'll get over the hump down the road. But the key is our feeder programs are great. Keep the kids home. We should be in good shape. It was Springfield's time. They were 0-4 in state District 1 championship games. Last year got blown out at home, 34-2 by Ruston, who then lost the next game, 42-14, state semifinal to Roman. But it was their time. And, Chester had to play. Got to keep the penalties down, and the penalties that Harrisburg overcame, Chester could not overcome.
Great point.
That's it. A great year, and the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Right. All right, so Terry, let's.
What you said, look at me. She's laughing at me for making. Yeah.
All right.
ABC Sports or Wild World of Sports?
Terry, Susquehanna Township, man, they left it all out there. And I mean that. I'm not saying that because I just needed something to say. They left it all out there. I think in the end, they lost to the better team. I think they took their season to the limit. Did you think maybe in the end, and they have a lot of talented players, do you think maybe in the end Susquehanna Township was forced to rely a little too much on Torrin Evans?
Yes. And the main reason why is because of Twin Valley.
Yeah, right.
They put him in a situation where Torrin had to win them the game.
Right.
That's just what it was. But overall, before I get started breaking down the game, because I watched it very closely, like you said, Susquehanna, they had a great year, made history, 11-0 for the first time ever. So there was a lot of great things. Obviously, we wanted to get that first district title, but it just wasn't our time. So the community is still proud of y'all.
Absolutely.
Obviously, this group, the senior group, this class was special. They had a game plan, just coming in when the program was at the very bottom, having the 0-win seasons. They fought through that, stuck together to get to this point. So, congratulations to you guys. You made the program respectable again, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's all we could ask out of you guys.
Yeah, I kind of stayed away all season long from talking about what happened with Coach Joe Heaton in the offseason. Because I know that Joe does not want it to be about that. I know he doesn't, okay? In fact, he told me that. I wanted to have him on. We supported him. Linglestown Gazette Sports, we really kind of did what we could to support him in that situation. And I like Joe a lot, and I'm glad it turned out this way. But I will say this, and we're not going to do a whole segment on it. To whoever was behind trying to remove Joe, we know now that you were wrong. Okay. We know that Joe Heaton was the guy for this job. And I feel even more conviction about that now. And I'm going to end it with this. I'm so happy that Joe was able to coach this year, that he had players that he loved again. Really, I talked to Joe on the phone about some of his guys. He loves these guys,
Yeah.
and that they had the opportunity to be led by Joe Heaton. I mean, there's so many great things about this season for Susquehanna Township. I can't say enough about it, but I don't know as much about it as you do, Terry and Travis. You guys are members of the Susquehanna Township community. Do you think this team left their mark on the community as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I speak?
I'll let you.
Yeah, Travis.
Yeah, I still want to say first, but I think they have, and I'm just going to say this. I want to congratulate Coach Heaton and that team, for coming out how they did. I know they camp on the short end of the stick this weekend, but it was an outstanding season. And it's nothing you can't be but nothing but proud of the coaching staff and those young men.
Okay, so let me mention this one kid. This is kind of an outside the lines thing. I was going to mention this earlier, but since we're talking about Susquehanna Township and Twin Valley, Drew Engel, the running back. Okay, everybody knows Drew.
That kid's tough.
283 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Earlier in the season, we sent him a T-shirt. We gave him like the player of the week. He had like 5 touchdowns and 400 total yards, offensive yards. This is Drew Engel.
Lacrosse.
He is going to West Point to the
Makes
Army
sense.
as
Makes
a lacrosse
lot
player.
of sense.
Let me tell you, the cool thing about this is when you watch. I just found this out. Okay.
Yeah.
When you watch an athlete, the student athlete, play a sport at that high a level for that long, and then you find out it's their second sport, it's like, wow, is that something or what?
I see it all the time down here, Joe. The kid Valerio the other night, Penn State lacrosse recruit, was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Against Chester, we ran into Wolski, Division I recruit from Marple Newtown in lacrosse was huge down here. Of course, we win a lot of state championships, PIAA state titles down here also. Twin Valley would have won one last year, but had to run into, one of our Delco teams.
So Twin Valley's good then, Dave, huh? Yeah, I don't follow lacrosse.
Great. But down here, it's
Okay.
It's
Makes
the sport.
sense. And Engle's probably their stud too. I would imagine.
Hey, Army might need to knock on this door and say, "Hey, can you play football too?"
Yeah, how about it?
Honestly. But before we move on, I do want to talk about the game because I did watch
no,
it.
no, we got time. Let's do it.
All right. So Susquehanna was winning this game at halftime, 21-20.
Yep.
I think they proved that, they belonged in the game and they had the team to win the game. The turning point, though, in this game to me was literally, I say maybe about like 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Susquehanna had to punt the ball back to them. They were in Susquehanna, their own territory, maybe like 20-yard line. And the punt didn't go too far. It went maybe about 20, 25 yards. So it set up Twin Valley perfectly with great field position at the time. So instead of going in halftime up 8, Twin Valley ended up scoring, cutting it to a 1-point game, 21-20.
Right.
Twin Valley also got the ball coming out of halftime, so they doubled up.
Right.
So from there, Twin Valley and Coach Myers, they made adjustments, which at some point I knew that they were going to go to. They went straight 13 personnel. So if you don't know what that is, it's essentially they have 3 tight ends, 1 running back, 1 wide out. And that's what they did. Pound the ball. They were like, all right, we're going to score in this drive, but we're going to eat up clock. And they felt comfortable once they got the lead. All they needed to get was 1 more stop and go up another score. And once they did that, they were like, all right, now we forced them to have to pass.
Right.
Which put that's what Twin Valley wanted them to do. Because now what they did differently from what they did in the first half, they literally had their safeties over top, which was taking away the deep ball. So, mind you, all year long, Susquehanna's receivers were able to get open, do whatever they want against everyone, except in this game.
Right.
And I think that was the surprising factor to me in this game because I thought that we would have the advantage. But I do remember coming into this game that people said one thing about Twin Valley on this year's team, they said that they have some athletes and they have athletes in the defensive backfield that are deceptively quick and smart. And they proved it.
Well, when you can't do what got you there, okay, like you just mentioned, it becomes frustrating.
Yep.
You could become to a degree shell shocked, like, oh no, what are we going to do now? This is what we've relied on for the first 12 games of the season, and we can't get away with this now. Now what do we do? Yep.
So it put Susquehanna in the second half. It put them in a tough situation. They did some very good things defensively. I think I pointed out to you guys another thing that they did. They were forcing Torrin to move to his right. He's a left-handed. So as you know, as a left-handed quarterback being forced to the right, it's harder to make throws.
Right.
When you're running to your right, trying to throw back left, it's harder to make those throws. So, I mean, they did a lot of good things, man. I was impressed with Twin Valley. They're a really good team that doesn't make mistakes, and they're extremely well coached.
And they're going to have to see how they match up with Aliquippa this Friday night. So, and let's not leave Trinity out of this conversation. I know we don't talk a whole lot about them. I felt like they had a chance. I figured that Goretti would be the favorite, and I was clear about that. But I also thought Trinity had the type of team that could match up with Goretti, and that was one of the more thrilling games that I've seen all year. I mean, I thought that Trinity took a risk that was a little too big. Late in the game, there was 4 minutes to go. They had the ball 4th and 4 on their own 22, and they went for it and didn't get it. And Goretti went down and scored, and then Trinity scored twice in the final minute and 29 seconds. They just moved the ball right down the field. They blocked They caught passes. The quarterback had composure. And I know I'm leaving a lot out, but we don't have time to kind of go through everything. But it was incredible. I was so excited when I was texting you guys. I'm like, this is unbelievable what's going on here. So all I'm going to say is, Coach Kevin Yarnovich, we had him on like 2 weeks ago on the show here, and I like Kevin a lot, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his guys. It has to be very exciting over there. When kind of, I don't want to say that their whole program was, torn apart 2 years ago, but we know what happened there. Coach Jordan Hill left. A good number of his staff left with him. And so did some really top-notch players. And it didn't matter, to those who remained, they were just like, we're gonna pick up and we're gonna win, and they did. So we wish you well this week. And they have, let's remind, Northwestern Lehigh, and that's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I mean, Trinity finds ways to make it a game, and then they feel like if they can do that, they have a chance. But
Right.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
That's
going to be physical. They're going to be physical.
Yeah.
It's going to be physical.
They're another one that Northwestern Lehigh, they play the game the way it was meant to be played. That kind. And I saw a lot of that this weekend. I sat at my kitchen table from 11 in the morning till after 11 o'clock last night and just watched football. And I did that 2 Saturdays in a row. I just really enjoy that, especially when it's, kind of like high stakes games. And then let's tip our caps to Coach Andrew Irby at Steel High. I think they're another one. I said that Susquehanna Township, I felt, really kind of took their team, or they took their season to the limit. Susquehanna Township. So did Steel High. They won another district title. They won a lot of games, and they were just outclassed. And by outclassed, I don't mean that Steel High didn't have class. And so I think you guys know what I mean by outclassed. It was just a mountain that was just too high to climb. And I think we saw the difference. And Travis, you and I had kind of like a discussion about this, but I think we saw the difference between 1A. I know Steel High is not as good as they were when they had the Irby brothers and some of those other guys, but I don't know if Southern Columbia is as good as they've been in the past either. I think there's a difference between 1A and 2A, and we kind of saw a little bit about that difference.
Well, see, here's the thing. There's a difference, but also Southern Columbia is a team that could compete for a AAA state championship. And legitimately Steel High is a single A team. So
right.
They're really, that's when you talk about being outclassed, that's exactly what you mean. They're not going to have.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
They're not going to have they're not going to be as physical as a Southern Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I meant, Travis. Thank you, because I people look at me sideways when I say outclassed. Sometimes it has nothing to do with class, like in the truest sense. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, and just to add to what you mean by that, Southern Columbia, enrollment-wise, they're 2A, but if you look at their sideline, they don't look like a 2A football program.
No.
And they literally everyone, every boy in this school basically wants to be a part of their program.
Right.
Rightfully so, because of what they've done and what they've built. But their numbers are fantastic.
And just to be clear about why they've won 9 titles, I think, in the last 10 years or 11 years. The reason they haven't moved up is because they haven't met the transfer criteria. You have to have, it's a success formula tied into 5 transfers for a 2-year cycle. Okay. You can say what you want. I don't know. You either have the transfers and they're proven on paper, or you don't. And you can win every game every year. If you don't have the transfers, you're not gonna be moved up in classification. So that's why, just to answer that question, because I know a lot of people say, how can they win every year and they just don't get moved up? That's why. And they don't choose to move up either. They could choose to move up like Aliquippa did twice. Okay. But they haven't done that. So
if there was a gripe to pick about them, it would be that. And to me, that's my gripe for them. I respect them a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic program. Football wise, probably easily top 5 program in the state. Easily.
Fantastic
coach.
Yeah.
I just do not understand what more do they need to do at 2A.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like they did everything possible. Why
Right.
not go up? Why not?
Yeah,
That's just me.
we're not haters on this show,
I know.
okay?
That's just me. That's just
No,
me.
you're not hating. That's what I'm
Not
saying.
hating.
You're not
Nope.
hating at all. You know, as much as you bleed Susquehanna Township red, you've been so respectful and so complimentary of Twin Valley all season long, and and Wyomissing when they play. So yeah, I know where you're coming from, and that's a fair opinion and a fair assessment. So how many teams are left undefeated at this point? 6 statewide. And here's the 6 undefeated teams: Harrisburg, Peters Township, Springfield, Twin Valley, Avonworth, and Northwestern Lehigh. So, you start with, I don't know, there's hundreds of teams in the PIAA when you only have 6 undefeated teams left. And there's some other teams that are really good that just played a tough out-of-state team or something like that. So, not everything it doesn't tell the whole story, when a team's undefeated. So let's just look at some of these matchups and then we'll cut everybody loose here. LaSalle College plays North Penn. North Penn, Dave, a little bit of a resurgency, right? They were one of the top programs in the state for years, correct? I can't hear you. You're on
Muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Dave.
Dick Beck, 24th year. First district championship since 2016 state semis. I was there almost beat DeAndre Swift and St. Joe's Prep, and that led to 9 straight appearances in the state final. But anyway, it's going to be. I think it's going to be LaSalle. It's going to be a close game with North Penn. Springfield Delco and Roman will be a close game, and your Harrisburg Cougars are going to win 21-7 over Pittsburgh Central Catholic. That's because I think they are, and my wife looks at me. Because I think you saw what LaSalle did earlier this season. I think LaSalle is going to probably win that game. It's going to be LaSalle Harrisburg state final, and you're looking at it's going to be the game for the ages.
Okay, all right. I like LaSalle a little bit bigger than you do. More about these teams than I do, I think.
LaSalle committed a lot of penalties the other night too, and penalties will come back to hurt you. As you know, just check out the Eagles game tonight.
How about
the Eagles?
Yeah, that's not going well, is it?
No, it's not going well. I think Jerry Jones paid off the referees at halftime.
Are they down now?
No, but Dallas has the ball close to to midfield in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they're down a touchdown. So I see Harrisburg 21-20 over Central Catholic. I think they win the game. I think it's going to be close. I don't know how it's going to turn out. How they're going to win or why, but yeah, I can't see how, as good as Central Catholic is. This is a Harrisburg defense that has. Where is it? Is it right here? Dark side.
Yep.
There's the T-shirt. The dark side has arrived, guys. It's not always dark, okay? Sometimes they're not as dark as other times. They are dark right now, okay? They look so good. So, yeah. I mean, Central Catholic, they might not even score 20 points, I don't know, but
21-7.
Okay, all right. I'm not arguing with that. I don't disagree. What do you guys think?
I do think Harrisburg is going to win. I just think we talked about it the last couple of years. In fact, we said this year is now or never for them.
Yeah.
They came in with that mentality. They knew it. They wanted to get back to the state title and win it. So they figured they would be at this point versus Pittsburgh Central Catholic again. This time, I do think they take care of business. I do think it's going to be a defensive battle game because both defenses are really, really good. So that should be interesting to see who can do what offensively to put points on the board. I do think at this point in time, I do think Harrisburg should have confidence. I know they have confidence, but after what they just did offensively to Central York, they should be feeling really, really good about themselves. And I do think they're on a mission. I like them. I like them a lot, and I do think they're going to win.
Travis, here we are. We've been talking about this all year, or all for the last 3 months. That that we were going to eventually get to this point, and we're here now. What do you think of Harrisburg as they sit now, heading into? I don't want to say the last two games because they just have to worry about what's ahead of them. But how do you feel about this Cougars game team in this game this Friday?
Well, the way they've been playing, I feel much better about Harrisburg, especially defensively. Still a little worried about the penalties. I think if Harrisburg is able to run the ball, and not just run the ball, but run the ball and not allow Pittsburgh Central Catholic to sit back in a zone because they and make them play the run with more than their front seven. I think Harrisburg wins 14-10.
Oh wow!
Agreed.
So none of us have it as a blowout,
No.
and we all have 21-7 to 21-20, 14-10. So we all have it close to the to the same outcome. I like Roman big over Springfield. Dave,
Yeah.
is Springfield going to be able to reel Roman in?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. It'd be tough to beat Roman. They're loaded, but Springfield, you got to respect your opponent, and you got to favor Roman to win the game because and this is the first time a state semifinal trip for Springfield. But yeah, it should be like another 21-17 game Roman.
I think it's kind of 41-21 ish, something there. 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think Roman.
You have been wrong before.
Oh, of course I've been wrong. I've been wrong a lot.
I like Roman big in this game too. I think they just have too much. I think they just do.
I like McDevitt over Peters Township. I think it's McDevitt. Just they keep getting better and better. I saw Jeff Wechter talk about it. They lost their first 2 games of the season to good teams. And he said they've improved every game since then, from game 3 to game 14. Week 3 to week 14. He said they've gotten incrementally better every week. And that's a coach's dream to be able to to be able to say that. And you want to, I guess the word's crescendo. You want to hit the highest point at the most important point, and that's right where McDevitt is right now. So,
yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. I think McDevitt advances. I think the state wants another Roman versus McDevitt game. I'm pretty sure that's who Roman wants. I'm pretty sure that's who they want.
right.
But it would be nice, considering McDevitt's going to 6A next year, if they can end it on a high note.
Right.
With winning another 5A title. This year, it's going to be very difficult because potentially Roman's waiting for them, and they're even better this year, as
right.
we all know.
I agree. So, Twin Valley, Aliquippa. I don't know, man. I don't root a whole lot, so it's not even about rooting. But I don't want to rule Twin Valley out. I mean, Aliquippa's playing at a high level right now. I watched that whole game. I didn't watch the Oil City game, but two weeks ago, I watched that game against McKeesport. And, Aliquippa looks like Aliquippa right now. They were winning kind of dirty a little bit. Not dirty. That's a terrible word. A little ugly. Earlier in the season, they weren't beating teams down like they typically do. But man, they won by 3 touchdowns against Oil City, and that should be an interesting game. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'll cut in a little bit. I think it's going to be so. A lot of the Whitfield people are writing Twin Valley off, and I'm trying to tell them not to do that. You should respect this Twin Valley team. They're very good and they're very well coached. In fact, I'm pretty sure Mike is probably telling his guys that because he has history with their coach, as he's played against him in a state title before when he was at Middletown.
Right.
So he understands that. He understands they're going to be well coached. He understands that. So I'm sure he's preaching that to his guys. He was like, "We played them. I played against that man before. I know what he can do, and here he is again." So Aliquippa is gonna be ready. We had him earlier in one of our shows. We got a lot of love for him and his program. He's a fantastic coach. He just finds ways to get it done. He just does. So I'm interested to see the battle between him and Coach Myers because I think they're 2 of the top coaches in the state personally. So I'm just looking for that kind of chess match to see how that unfolds, and I think it should be a good game.
Yep. Yep, I do too. O'Hara, Southern Lehigh. Dave, tell us a little bit about Cardinal O'Hara.
Very good, very athletic. Even though they got beat up pretty good by St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle.
Nah, that happens.
Love everything about Coach Ewing and his staff. Good friends with a bunch of those guys. So I'm going to go O'Hara to win it all.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
All right. I can't argue with that. We got Trinity and Northwestern Lehigh. We talked about that. Avonworth, Penn Cambria. Avonworth's a son of a gun, man.
Avonworth.
I watched their game against Imani. They took it to them. They beat them 30-6. You know, that's not a horrible blowout, but Imani never. And Imani, you could tell they were good. Okay,
They have talent. They're
a lot of
talented.
times you walk away from a game like that and say, I don't know what the big deal with Imani is or whatever. No, they're good.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get loose against Avonworth. Avonworth's a good team. And Avonworth came off of losing in the state championship last year. Let's remind ourselves of that. So against Northwestern Lehigh. So they're heading for, I'd love to see
I think we'll get a part 2.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's with respect to Trinity, but it would be nice to see a rematch there. How about 2A Southern Columbia versus Lansdale Catholic? Lansdale Catholic's really good. I've been kind of quietly following them all year. And Lansdale Catholic's good. Dave, what do you know about them?
They're going to probably win. They're damn good, Philadelphia Catholic League. I don't know if they can win the state title, but they're going to get an opportunity.
And then Farrell against Seton LaSalle. Seton LaSalle was down 14 in the Whitfield Championship game and won 21-14. They have a kid who's gone to Duquesne, number 38. He scored all 3 of their touchdowns on the ground. What a great player he is. I don't remember his name now, but they're the real deal. Remember, they were without the who's the kid that transferred to Pine Richland? Help me out here.
I can't remember.
Travis, do you remember?
So no, I don't.
We should know
Secret
that.
Yeah. Penn State.
Yeah. He they had to move forward without him, and they said on the air that there was more than just him. They lost a couple players to transfers, and they just
Taylor. Yeah, that's his last name.
Khalil.
Yep.
Yeah. So congratulations to Seton LaSalle. They're gonna take on Farrell, who beat a really good Richland team by 18. Philadelphia and Dallas are tied at 21 with 11 minutes to play. And let's just go to 1A, and then we'll wrap things up here. Let you guys get back to football. Bishop Guilfoyle 7, Westinghouse 6. There was a couple interesting scores here in 1A. Belmont Charter, Dave, they're a District 12.
Scrappy Boy played Chester last year. I mean, they're obviously single A school. I like them, very athletic. Boy, nothing against Bishop Guilfoyle. I know a lot of people out there, the athletic director, Joe Landolfi, but I'm hoping Belmont Charter can go all the way.
Yeah, it's a great story. And then on the other side is Clairton, Greenville. I watched the entire Clairton Laurel game. Clairton won 8-6. And Laurel had a chance. They were deep in Clairton territory. And to myself, and I know you just can't kneel all the time, and it wasn't third down, so a lot of times you kneel on third down. You can't. But I thought, you know what, you might want to kneel here. They were down like between the 10 and the 15-yard line. They ran the ball and fumbled, and that was it. They probably would have won the game. It would have been 9-8, and Laurel fumbled the ball, when they were set up for a field goal. And that happens, but there's no shame in kneeling on like first or second down when you're trying to secure an opportunity to win a district championship game. And then they're going to play Greenville, who beat Port Allegheny 31-28. Big win for Greenville. Greenville's out of District 10. Again, that's the greater Erie area. And so we have some new blood, guys, in the state semifinals.
Yeah.
And
Parity's always nice.
Yeah, we have some year after year returning talent in Harrisburg and McDevitt and Aliquippa and some others, but we have some new blood as well. And here's who's left from last year that was in the state championship games: Pitt Central Catholic, McDevitt, Roman, Northwestern Lehigh, Avonworth, and Guilfoyle. So we have 6 of 12 teams left who played in Cumberland Valley last year. All right.
Good.
Anybody else have anything for the cause?
No,
Good
that's-
show. Great guest, Coach Rick Preet from Roman Catholic. We wish him well this Friday night, fellas. We really appreciate it. And this Philadelphia Dallas game could be interesting. So let's all check out. Have a great Sunday evening.